Hi, hello. I hope you're taking care of yourself. If you're new here, my name is Lexi, and I read a lot of different books from all sorts of genres, some of them for pain, some of them for pleasure, and it's been a while since I've done just a straight up book rec video, so that's what this is. This is a sister video to something that I made on my channel a few years ago, back when I first started posting, where I did a bunch of extremely specific book recommendations for people who submitted requests through my Instagram, and I'm kind of doing the same thing in this video, but because I don't really know how to relax, this is also going to be a lot bigger than the last one. I said in my story where I asked for submissions that I would pick like 15 for the video, and that was my plan when I posted that story, but then I went through all of them, and no exaggeration, I screenshot over 200 of them that sounded kind of good, that I had an idea for, and to try to pare them down, I put them all into this big 6,000 by 6,000 Photoshop image to try to brain map them into like categories, so that way I could pick which ones I wanted to do, and that ended up looking like this. So yeah, I got in a little bit over my head. I ended up picking out about 75 prompts that I'll be responding to, but I'll be doing that in a few different categories. And the reason for that is I'm making this video trying to keep both veteran viewers who have seen like all of my videos, as well as new viewers who might have only seen one or two in mind. And I have reviewed every single book that I've read in the past 3 years on YouTube. And obviously not all of you guys, and probably not even very many of you guys, have watched every single video that I've ever made, but a few of you probably have. So I wanted to make something that would still give those people new recommendations and be engaging, just as well as it hopefully will be for people who are new and who don't know my taste quite as well. So with that in mind, the 4 sections of this video. First off, I'm going to do a sort of lightning round where I'm putting books that I think are like very associated with my brand, where I've talked about them a million times already, but I also like them so much where if I see a prompt where they're the obvious answer, I can't not put them in the video. What if there's someone out there watching who doesn't know? What if there's someone out there who needs to be reminded for the 30th time to read Murderbot? It's a public service, like I can't help it. So I'm going to read the prompts for those books and give you the recommendation, but I'm not actually going to talk about those books at all. I'll just put on screen a one-ish sentence synopsis and also the video where I've reviewed them in the past for any of you who might be newer to the channel and who might want to know a little bit more about those books. But you can rest assured that all of the books I'm putting in this section I think are really great. And I also encourage any longtime fans of my channel to treat this like a sort of mini game and just to see how many of them you can guess just based on the prompts before I reveal whatever my pick was. After the lightning round, part 2, I'm going to be doing longer form responses and recommendations for books that I don't talk about very much on my channel, or at least most of these are books that I haven't talked about very much on my channel, or maybe more accurately, the prompts that is inspiring me to think of them, the connection there might be a little bit more abstract, and I'm still going to try to keep it breezy considering that if this video is over an hour, I don't really think that's cute anymore for a book recs video. Like, I don't think that that works very well for this concept, so I'm going to do my best to be super brief, but this is going to be the bulkiest section for sure. Section 3 is a palette cleanser. I picked out like 10 different prompts that I can't help you with at all, but that I thought were really funny and I wanted to share anyways. And then section 4, I picked about 20 prompts that immediately brought to mind a specific book that I haven't had the chance to read yet. But for me to put it in this section, it also has to be a book that I have positive associations with. I'm not recommending anything that wasn't already positively on my radar. So these are all obviously going to be speculative recommendations that I'm not standing behind as if I've read the book because I haven't, but I also have a pretty good read on what I will enjoy. Everything that I've given 5 stars in the past couple of years, I'm pretty sure I've gone into expecting to love. I don't think that I've been surprised recently, and considering that I spend a lot of my time hearing about new books, reading about them, seeing how people in my circles talk about them and recommend them, my hope is that through offering some speculative recommendations that I personally have high hopes for, you might get something new on your radar that you didn't know existed. So that's the plan. That's what we're doing. This is going to be interesting because I'm very long-winded by nature, which is why in my wrap-ups where I'm talking about 10 books, they're all like over an hour long, but I'm really going to be challenging myself here to move as quickly as possible just because I wanted to include as many of your guys' responses as possible. But it's a challenge I'm happy to take. We're gonna see how it goes. But before we get into it, I just have a quick word from the sponsor of today's video, which is Cookunity. Cookunity is a chef-to-you meal delivery platform that connects you to hundreds of fresh, fully prepared meals from award-winning chefs. Actual famous chefs come up with the meals, and you can choose from a rotating menu of over 400 nationwide every single week. The meals are made in small batches, so they're super fresh, and you can either heat them up in the microwave if you're short on time, or if you're like me and you're elitist, you can also press a total of like 2 more additional buttons and use your oven if you want the best possible result. This is the Korean flank steak rice bowl by Esther Choi, and this was great. This was really, really good, but I actually didn't even take footage of me making my favorite meal, which by a lot is the rigatoni with beef bolognese, which tasted like an actual restaurant quality pasta dish. I ate that in like the middle of the night in a fugue state, so it's unpictured, but it was bomb. It was like a religious experience for me. The jambalaya was also really good. Big fan of Creole food, and in general, Cookunity is a fantastic option for you if you're looking to save time and stress, but you still want to eat really, really well. And I appreciate the personal touch of having like actual people's actual recipes. If you're interested in giving it a go, you can head on down to the link in my description
and use code NewlyNova50
to try cookunity for 50% off your first order to get fresh, chef-made meals delivered directly to your door. Thank you so much to cookunity for sponsoring this video. I really appreciate it. Let's get back to it. Okay, welcome back for my ad. I'm glad that you made it. This is going to be the lightning round. For all of these books, I'm just going to read you the prompt and I'm going to give you the title of the book, and on the screen will be all of that additional information that I promised for anybody who hasn't heard of them before. I don't know, man. If I have something else to add, I probably will, but I'm not planning on it. For the 4 of you who are treating this as a quiz, I also put these in rough order of difficulty based on like either how much I think they're associated with me, how specifically I talked about them in relation to the prompt whenever I talked about them. So they probably will get increasingly hard the further that I go on. There's 15 in total, but let's do it. Number 1, adult woman, 30 plus, slow burn, fantasy, lots of sarcasm. You know that this is the Raven Scholar. It's always been the Raven Scholar. It's going to be the Raven Scholar until the day that I'm buried into the cold hard earth. Number 2 is simply when one character has an illness. This is Sharkheart to me, my beloved. Number 3 has 3 prompts, so I'll read you all 3 of them, but you'll probably get it off of just the first one. Fantasy, detectives, gay perhaps, with a pinch of body horror. A book that feels like a film noir detective movie, but with magic and supernatural flair. Sci-fi or fantasy mystery with a satisfying twist. Mystery first, setting second. All of this is The Tainted Cup. It's like my favorite fantasy mystery I think that I've ever read. It's so much fun. Number 4, characterization that is so strong that you care about someone who is on page once or twice as much as the main characters. This is quintessentially Beartown, man. This is very much the full village sort of book. It's like a bunch of wisdom from the Platonic ideal of a father, where they're teaching you that all of the people around you actually have inner worlds that are as rich and complicated as your own, except it's all of the like 5 dozen characters inside of this book. So good. Number 5 itches that 1800s Pride and Prejudice itch, but also the Emily Wilde / Emma M. Lyon series. And I haven't read the Emma M. Lyon series, so you know what? Maybe I'm taking this the wrong direction, but based on the other part of the prompt, this is half a soul to me. It is absolutely half a soul. So good, so much fun. Number 6, and this one also has like 4 prompts that all feel very connected to me. A tragic sapphic book about obsession taking place in the summer. A book that feels like listening to Ethel Cain music. A book that feels like an Ethel Cain song with a glass of red wine. Or sapphic book that feels like a Boy Genius song. All of this is Sunburn. If you haven't read Sunburn, but you want a book like that, it, I promise you, will be exactly what you want. Such a great portrait of what it's like to come of age as a queer woman and to harbor this admittedly kind of toxic, but also very pure and very deep and complex love for one of your best friends. Like, it's so good, it'll rock your world if you've never read it before and you're looking for something like this. Me when I lie, by the way, about giving additional context on each book, dude, I need to shut up. Number 7, something with When Harry Met Sally vibes. Yearning, angst, the works. This is you again, for sure. It's literally a When Harry Met Sally retelling, but I think with less likable characters, which I appreciate because I don't consider myself to be a likable person a lot of the time, but some people get mad at. I loved it though. I thought it was really good. Very messy. Number 8, a book that feels like Succession. I only put this because this is the comp that I made, I think every single time I've talked about this series on the channel, but this is Jade City. This is so the Green Bone Saga. Urban fantasy, martial arts, East Asian Succession with, I think, more likable characters. It's the closest comparison I can possibly draw. Number 9, fantasy rec for litfic girlies. I've literally given this exact recommendation before on this channel. This is Piranesi for sure. Such a cool puzzle box of a book that also works as a very impressive character study of a character who is in an extremely weird environment that you get to figure out and explore alongside him. Number 10, the vibes of an AO3 author who speaks English as a second language and was hit by a car. This is absolutely anything by Allie Hazelwood. She's my biggest guilty pleasure romance author for sure. And she does speak English as a second language, and she also does churn out books with the pace of somebody who would apologize for delaying an AO3 chapter by 2 days and be like, sorry, broke both of my legs. Like, that is such an Allie Hazelwood thing. Number 11, a really good heart-wrenching romance that's gonna change my perspective on love. We're now getting to the part of the lightning round where it's very obvious to me, but I wonder if it will be obvious to you. This is 7 Days in June, absolutely. It's my favorite romance novel of all time. I think that it's fantastic. It's also just such a moving portrait of what it's like to reconnect with someone and be different than the person that you were when you knew them the first time, while also having this wonderful depiction of what it's like to learn how to forgive yourself and each other for whatever hurt that you might have suffered in the past. Number 12, homoerotic friendship turned enemies with immeasurable angst. Kudos if it's fantasy. This is Vicious by V.E. Schwab. It's the only book that I've ever liked by that author, but I really liked it. I actually liked it so much that I am very afraid to continue going with the series because I don't want to ruin it, man. I don't want to ruin the perfect memory that is crystallized of that reading experience. Number 13, You made me start reading again with a TikTok recommending Educated, but now I'm stuck reading Heated Rivalry Fics. You know, in retrospect, I should have shelved this into a different section of this video because I feel like this requires slightly more explanation, but easy peasy answer to this to me is either We Could Be So Good or You Could Be So Lucky by Cat Sebastian, which I think are, in a strange way, the perfect combination for somebody who is very, very into heated rivalry, but also like occasionally enjoys reading moving works of prose, because both of those books are romance novels that are super fun, they're propulsively written, but also they have these characters that have very vibrant emotional worlds and who are going through very difficult things, right? Like the books end up being extremely moving. So I feel like that's a good recommendation for anyone who's in that boat. Number 14, a nonfiction book that scared you to your core and that made you take a long walk. This is Into Thin Air for me, which is a book that I feel like I talk about all of the time, but in retrospect, I maybe haven't talked about for a couple of years, which is why it's at the end of this section. But that book is harrowing. It is so fucking good. It made me severely start to judge anybody that I ever hear who wants to climb Mount Everest. Don't do that, man, for a lot of different reasons, also beyond just how stupid and dangerous it is. Just do anything else with your time and with your money. Last one in the lightning round, this is number 15, and this is the book that nobody submitted a prompt for that you're surprised is not in this section. I did consider, I will say, a book that feels like being clocked by your therapist who knows your brain too well, but I thought that this would be too specific to me. That's right, it's Murderbot. I made it like 10 minutes into this video probably without talking about Murderbot. Very impressive stuff, honestly, considering how it's been this year. All right, part 2, longer recommendations. I'm still not going to synopsize these books. I'll put a couple of sentences about what they're about on screen just to save us a little bit on time so we can keep up with the pace of this video, okay? We gotta keep moving, man. We got like 45 more books to do. So let's get started. This section has 20. Number 1, Sylvia Plath, eldest daughter, who is nostalgic for a past that was the worst time of her life. This to me is absolutely in the dream house, which I for sure have talked about before on this channel, but I also think it just applies perfectly to this prompt because I feel like all of the very complicated and ugly feelings that Carmen admits to having about this toxic relationship from her past in this memoir, it's not always as simple as bad thing happened to you, aren't you so glad that it's over? Because for a lot of people who go through some really difficult things, the only reason that they go through them for so long is because it's not all bad. And this book is just a class act when it comes to reckoning with those feelings. And it's also very literary. It's got like a really unique form where every chapter is based on some kind of trope from either scary movies or classic literature or something like that. And for the most part, they're all very short. The entire book is told out of order, which I imagine that the sad, witchy, classic Sylvia Plath part of your personality will very much appreciate about this as well. Number 2, something that is like a Netflix dating show, but in book form. Boy, oh boy, do I have the book for you, man. This is one to watch. It's a romance novel by Kate Stayman London. The entire premise of this book is just the first plus-sized woman to ever be the Bachelorette. That is the whole thing that's going on. Like, it's quite literally based on a reality TV show, and I thought that this was a great time when I read it a few years ago. Number 3, I want a snowy, icy, blizzardy fantasy story. I don't even care what it's about. I want to feel cold. And I actually unhauled this book because it didn't really work for me personally, but it's so beloved by so many people, and it's a perfect response to this prompt, and that is The Bear and the Nightingale by Catherine Arden. And I didn't hate it. I think I ended up giving it maybe 3 stars, but the main reason for that is the book is so atmospheric. It is so classic fairy tale set during the coldest time of your life that I found that it moved at a sort of glacial pace that I didn't really enjoy, but the atmosphere is chef's kiss, phenomenal. It's super, super effective. It's like winter in a book. And if that's what you're looking for, you will get it with The Bear and the Nightingale. It's also a trilogy, so you have like 2 more books to read as well after the first one if it works for you. And number 4, a standalone with a ridiculously high Goodreads rating that you think is deserved. What is the Goodreads rating for this book right now? I remember it being very high. Oh yeah, In Memoriam has a 4.49 right now on Goodreads, and I actually think that's too low. This was a strong, strong 5-star book for me. Absolutely haunting story about queer love set during World War I that also has a lot of focus on extremely strong friendships that make up a lot of the reason why this book is so fucking haunting and sad. But in addition to all of that, my favorite part of this book is also that it's just so brilliantly subversive. This isn't the book that you expect to get when you pick it up in the best of ways. I think it is such a wonderful and thoughtful portrayal of the personal cost of war and of everything else that this book ends up doing so well. I wish it had more 5-star ratings, honestly. I think it deserves every 5-star rating in the entire world. It is just so wonderful wonderful, and I'm so looking forward to Alice Wynn's second book. This is her debut. This is a debut novel, but her second book comes out, I think, at the beginning of next year, so that'll be really cool. Number 5, a book to read when you just took a gap year and now you're going back to school, in parentheses, terrified. Fun fact about me, I also took a gap year, and I was also very, very terrified when I was going back to college that things wouldn't turn out the way that I wanted them to during this big, massive inflection point of my life. Which, side note on that, I wish that taking a gap year was as normal in the US as it is in some of the countries in Europe, because no matter what you do during your gap year, escaping that bubble of school, especially if you are a high achieving student, it gives you some time to actually figure out who you are and what you want out of college and out of the rest of your life. And I just wish it was more normal. But anyways, all of that aside, like, I don't regret at all taking a gap year, but I do remember what it felt like to be coming back and be really scared going into college, because like I wasn't the same person that I was when I graduated high school. And at least in the US, man, all of those adults that are gap year skeptics, you start thinking to yourself, fuck man, what if I'm stupid now? Like what if I don't know how to do school anymore? What if I still don't know what I want? What if I just wasted all of this time and now I'm going to school down a year of my life, plus I still don't know what I want to do there? All of those thoughts were thoughts that I was having. I went on to change my majors, I think 4 or 5 times during college. So this is not only just me saying that you're going to be okay, because you are going to be okay, but also this is me recommending to you Radio Silence by Alice Oseman, which I think is a book that really captures that feeling of directionless, especially if you're a gifted student and you're coming from the experience of everyone around you having very high expectations for what you do, but the person that you are at school, you're realizing that that might not actually be the person that you are inside, that might not actually be the best reflection of what you're passionate about and what you might want out of life. I feel like Frances, the main character of this book, I think that she might speak to you. I don't know, she spoke to me, and I read this book a couple of years after I was in your shoes, and it still felt like it very much hit for me. So yeah, Radio Silence. Number 6, I have someone who submitted gay 18 times in one text box, which I'm choosing here to take seriously and to recommend to you a gay book that I love that I'm not talking about elsewhere in this video, which is The Spear Cuts Through Water. Such a good fantasy standalone book. I cannot emphasize to you enough how impressive this is in terms of the scope of its ambition and just how much I fell in love with the characters of this book and with the love story that is ultimately at the center of it. It's so good. It's really weird for a fantasy book. You're going to see why very quickly. The writing style is informed by oral traditions of storytelling, so there's a lot of perspective shifting that takes a little bit of time to get used to, but you will get used to it, I promise you, and it will rock your world, because the things that writing this book that way make possible within the story are so incredible. It's an experience that I've never had before, and I probably will never have again with any other book. Number 7, I would like a really good quality, well-written horror that explores important themes. If this was on the lightning round, the people might be saying it was The Buffalo Hunter Hunter by Stephen Graham Jones, and this is true. This book bangs. It's really, really good. Super gritty, super dark, but fantastic. So you should read it, especially since it sounds like you're coming from a more literary background. You want to focus on the prose, on the writing, on the storytelling. This is a fantastic work of literary horror. But I also want to spotlight a book I haven't talked about in forever, which is The Last House on Needless Street. This is a novel that succeeds both as a fantastic work of horror that is super tense, super suspenseful, pretty spooky a lot of the time, while also being a really remarkable character study that goes in a direction that I don't think you can possibly expect when you pick up this book. And I don't want to say anything else about it because I don't want to give you even the smallest idea of where this will end up, but super worth it, really good. Number 8, a cozy fantasy without any spice that is coming of age as well. Like Harry Potter, but without being a ripoff. And then also, series that gives Harry Potter for adults and doesn't fund hate movements. So easy. Not a book in a traditional sense. This is a manga that has also just recently gotten an anime adaptation, and that is Witch Hat Atelier. I have every single volume of that manga next to my bed, and I'm slowly working through them before I fall asleep, and it is just so whimsical. It's so good. I started off with the anime, which, trigger warning, the current season does end on a cliffhanger, which I think is kind of fucked up, but then you can just go and read the manga like the rest of us, I guess. But it's so good, and the story is definitely a little bit different from Harry Potter insofar as here you have a non-magical girl who is thrust into the magical world unexpectedly, and she's learning about it, but she's not at a big academy. She's learning about it directly from a mentor with a few other girls her age, which is a different vibe, don't get me wrong, but the energy that the stories have just is so similar to me when I'm 12 and I'm reading Harry Potter. Like, that's how I feel when I was watching and now I'm reading this series. It's just so well done. It's so whimsical. It's so exciting. The one thing that I will add is it's not exactly a cozy fantasy. Like, it has stakes. There's some violence that happens. It's actually a lot more adult than it appears at first glance. But also, Harry Potter is not something that I think would be considered cozy under like current genre standards, and that is the comparison that you drew. So I feel like it's still absolutely something that will work for you if you give it a chance. It is just the perfect recommendation for this prompt. In my everyday life, outside of this video, when I talk about this with my friends, I have been calling it ethical free-range Harry Potter. It's just, that is what this is. It is so good, and I'm so glad that it exists because, yeah, I mean, I think that a lot of people are chasing that dragon of their childhood, considering the person that J.K. Rowling ended up being. Number 9, like when you look at the stars and feel absolutely tiny, but you're not mad about it. And then also, I want a book about the wonder of life, but struggling with the finitude of it, preferably queer. This to me is absolutely A Psalm for the Wild-Built by Becky Chambers. It is the shortest book in the entire world, but it really packs a punch. And when I think about books to recommend to somebody who looks out at the world and thinks, wow, this is such a big and scary place and there's so much potential and that's wonderful but also horrifying, this is the book for you. This is a book that asks that question of what we do it all for, what is supposed to make us happy, what the purpose of life is meant to be, if we're even meant to find it to begin with. Like, yes, we as people are small, we're ants, but we're also part of this incredible big thing all of the time that is happening all around us. And I think that that's really magical too. That's kind of what this book is. Number 10 is like 6 different prompts that are all the same thing in a different way, because I just think it's really funny out of context to imagine people typing this into somebody's Instagram ask. I want to ugly cry and experience the worst heartache imaginable. I want to feel like I was run over by a car, but when I stand back up, I'm crying and grateful for it. Something that feels like the pain you get at the dentist when they use the high pressure air puffer on a sensitive tooth, but like in a good way. I just want to cry. Something so incredibly sad that my family is destroyed by my sobs. Destroy me. Yeah. Guys, are we good? Are we doing okay? Is there something that you guys need to tell me? No, but actually, these are also going to be very familiar recommendations that you might have been confused were missing from the lightning round of this video, but that's just because I have a sort of sad book Mount Rushmore, and if you have the immense privilege of having not read something that is on my sad Mount Rushmore, but you like sad books, dude, you're gonna be in for a time, okay? Like, your family probably will be concerned for you. The first of the 4 I actually did already recommend in the lightning round, and that was Shark Heart, which is such a weird book, but you have to pick it up anyways, man. It's so lyrical, it's so sad. It is a haunting metaphor for losing the person that you love most in this world to some sort of debilitating illness. And you can apply that to a million different things that you might experience in this life. Some people really read dementia into Shark Heart, some people read depression, but the core message of watching that person that you love slowly become unrecognizable and then having to let them go, like, it's so good, man. It's so well done. Second up in my sad canon here is My Dark Vanessa, which is everything that I've ever wanted any fictional book that deals with issues of sexual violence to be. This to me is the creme de la creme, both in terms of being absolutely soul-crushing while also being this transformative story of rebirth and renewal and rebuilding yourself up from nothing in the wake of experiencing some of the worst things that a person can experience. Very dark, very hard to read at times, but so well done. Third, I have Betty by Tiffany McDaniel, which is by a lot my favorite historical fiction novel that I've ever read in my life. The quality of prose in this book is like cuckoo bananas. It's one of the best written books I think that I'm going to be talking about in this entire video. And it is a work of fiction, but it's inspired directly by the real life story of the author's real life actual mother. Like, she's writing a book about her mom and about everything that her mom has endured in her life, which is just such an insane act of love that you can feel in every single page of this book. It is fantastic. And then last up in my sad canon, I have no idea where I put my ARC for this book, which is the only copy that I keep in my office. I have a couple of others at home that are special editions, but I don't know where I put my ARC, which is kind of upsetting because this is one of my favorite books of all time, and it's Babel by R.F. Kuang. I did a whole vlog where I read Babel. It's like one of the only times I think I've ever in my life cried during a video. At least cried that much. Like, that was like a true emotional peak, man. Usually that kind of stuff happens off camera, but I think that that book is masterfully done. You'll see a little bit of controversy for it online. There are a lot of people who think that it's too in your face and unsubtle, which it's interesting because I feel like I do give that critique a decent amount to other books, but that's not how I felt about Babel. I thought that Babel was outstanding, and I think it contains a lot more depth and subtlety, especially in how Robin is written as a character and how heartbreaking his journey is, that I don't always see given credit in these conversations. Like, yes, this is a book that is colonization is bad and here's why and here's how. In these respects, it is not subtle, and I don't think that it's a perfect book in terms of how it uses its fantasy elements, but it is a perfect book for me to this day. I love Babel. I unfortunately love it so much that I end up unfavorably comparing other things to it all of the time by accident because they just remind me of it so strongly. And the ending of that book is just fucked, man. It will very much stomp on your heart. So yeah, those are my sad books. That's my sad canon. Number 11, a romantic fantasy with such intense, slow burn yearning that I'll want to tear my hair out. And alternatively, a fantasy read where romance is barely there and it takes my blood pressure through the roof. Yeah, this is still The Cruel Prince, guys. I have not found anything. I read a decent amount of romantasy on this channel, and I have not found anything in that entire genre that makes me feel the way that I did during the slow burn of this series, because this is the blueprint for me when it comes to YA enemies to lovers. It is so slow burn. The whole first book, man, they don't even remotely like each other. Like, they're actively being mean to and bullying the other person, which some people really hate, but because it goes both ways and because they're both absolute sharks, I love it. I think it's fantastic. You feel the tension and how much they're obsessed with each other from the first page. The romance in this series always takes a back seat to the court politics and to all of the scheming that's happening in the rest of the story, and it's so entertaining. I think that this is just like my preferred method of reading romance in fantasy. I prefer it as a subplot usually, but this was one of the series that got me back into reading as an adult, I think like 6 or 7 years ago, and man, I'm still looking for something that makes me feel this way. I am looking for enemies to lovers that hate each other as much as these two people do. Honorable mention though, David Bad Trilogy. City of Brass, also very slow burn. Completely different from the vibes in The Cruel Prince, but also lots of yearning, also very slow burn. Big fan. These are good. Number 12, a book for post-grad, unemployed, deep fear. This is, I think, the only book that I also recommended the other time that I did this format for a video with extremely specific recommendations, but I haven't talked about it since then, so I feel like it's worth bringing up again. I would recommend that you read 4,000 Weeks, Time Management for Mortals, which is the only self-help book I have ever found to be remotely insightful. It actually made an impact when I read it in college on how I saw not only myself, but also on the full life that I have ahead of me, where I still didn't really know what I wanted to do or who I wanted to be, but because I am the way that I am, I felt like I was wasting so much time not knowing, and that I would look back on myself in 10 or 20 years and I would just feel like I'd wasted all of this potential that I'd felt my entire life that I had to do something big, and I was wasting it because I couldn't figure it out. I was given this book as a recommendation by one of my favorite professors that I had in college right after I decided, through talking with her and a couple of other mentors that I had, that I didn't want to go and do a PhD, that I didn't want to go to grad school, which was like a really big turning point in my college career. To this day, I'm very thankful for that recommendation. This is in a lot of ways kind of an anti-self-help book. It's about kind of throwing away this drive to be as productive as possible in favor of recognizing that you're not going to be here forever. But it's ironically only through being frank with yourself about that and about how little time that you have that you're able to have the freedom to admit all of the shit that you don't actually like or want to do, but like you feel like you should do anyways. All of that stuff is kind of a waste of time, man. It sounds obvious and trite in the way that self-help books sound obvious and trite a lot of the time, but I promise this book is so convincing that you should actually spend your time doing the things that you love. And in fact, there are a lot of great philosophical reasons to get to that destination, and this book does a great job setting them out and establishing them for you. And I swear on my life, man, I would not be recommending you a self-help book if it were not actually good. This is the only one I've ever read that has stuck with me beyond just the 2 minutes that you actually feel a little bit empowered before you realize that the entire book was nonsense. This one is actually good, and it's not going to tell you what to do with the rest of your life, but hopefully it might make you feel a little bit less guilty with how you choose to live it. Number 13, extremely bisexual horror romance. I don't even want to try to pronounce that as one word, dude. I'm gonna clown on myself. I grew up with a speech impediment, by the way. Fun fact, I went to speech therapy as a kid because I couldn't pronounce my R's, and to this day, I fuck them up probably 3 or 4 times a week, but you never hear that because I always cut it out of my videos. But yeah, that word is just a disaster waiting to happen. Anyways, extremely bisexual horror romance with a stoic woman and came back wrong vibes. This is another book that I wasn't in love with, but I also see so many people inside of my life and online who absolutely adore it, and that is Our Wives Under the Sea. I think it's exactly what you're looking for, other than I'm pretty sure they're both lesbians. I don't think either of them are bisexual, but also it's been like 5 years since I read this, so what the fuck do I know? But very much slow, existential, introspective meditation on loss and on trauma after a woman comes back from a deep sea expedition and she's like completely different. Something went horribly wrong when she was on her trip. It's not really a romance, but it is a love story. Love is for sure at the center of this book. It's just a lot more literary, I think, than your average romance. Number 14, a book that captures the feeling of walking into cobwebs in combination with, I want a book that feels like the science experiment in the back of your fridge. That for sure is House of Leaves, unfortunately. I'm so sorry to give you this recommendation. I'm like tying the albatross to your chest. This kind of shit right here, man, this is the science experiment that you leave in the back of your fridge or in the back of your bookshelf for 3 years until it feels like it's time to finally pick it up. It's lurking all of the time. You know it's coming. You know it'll will arrive for you one day, but you just don't know when. That was my experience, at least, with House of Leaves. And actually reading the book absolutely feels like walking into cobwebs. If you're like me, at least, a lot of the time that you spend reading this, you will low-key wish that you've never picked it up. Like, I'm not one of those people who thinks that House of Leaves is a masterpiece, perfect book. I think that it has some flaws, and I think that some of the ways that it purposefully makes the reading experience suck are ultimately like not really worth it. But once you make your way through the cobwebs, man, unfortunately, I do have to share with you that I was really glad that I read this, and I did get a lot out of it. I do think about it a lot, and I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry that that's true. I wish that I could tell you that this was bad and not at all worth your time, but I can't, man. It has to be done. If you like anything postmodern, if you like horror novels, if you like books that play with form, you do have to, unfortunately, get this book and put it in the back of your fridge to be read at a later date in between 2 and 5 years. Number 15, a book that captures the feeling of home and of not being able to return home. I picked Pachinko for this one just because I think that it's such a great portrait of what it's like to watch the world around you change without the consent of its people. Like, it's about, first of all, Japanese occupation in Korea, followed by a family of Korean people moving to Japan for reasons. It's a family saga that takes place over the course of many, many years. And again, it's like literally about watching your home become unrecognizable, and then about trying to find any amount of home, find any semblance of community in this new place that is full of people who hate you and who don't want you to be there. But you can't just leave. You can't just go home because you don't have a home to go back to. Honest to God, I feel like this book taught me more about this era than I ever learned in school. Not to say that fiction is a replacement for actually like reading history, but the way that this heartbreaking era of history is captured inside of this book is just so impressive and deftly done. Number 16, the kind of book a rugged street cat would read if cats could read. Do I even need to say anything about why it's Six of Crows? We both know it's Six of Crows, right? Like, we both know that this is for sure the right answer to that question. I'm pretty sure that Kaz Brecker actually is the street cat that inspired this prompt. This is another creme de la creme young adult book. Whenever I read a young adult book I don't really like, and I start to wonder to myself, am I just too old for this? Like, is it just not for me anymore? The answer is yes, it kind of is not for me anymore, and that's probably a part of why I don't like it. But also, stories like this are out there, dude, and they're so heat. They're so good. Number 17, a book for someone who has complex feelings about working in medicine. Look, man, I don't know your story, so this might not be answering the right part of your complicated feelings, but the book that this reminded me the most of by a lot was Being Mortal. When I think about nonfiction books that really made me care about things that I didn't know to care about before, this is one of the books that's at the top of the list, because this is a book that's about euthanasia and also about elder abuse in society and just how we don't give a fuck at all about old people and about whether they live or die. But in the case of this prompt, I think that the part that you will resonate with the most is that this is also a look into how the medical system is not really concerned with people who want more for their life than just to live more days, right? Like end-stage cancer patients who maybe want to have a high quality of life for their confirmed last year on the planet, rather than trying some method of treatment that only has like a 1% success rate that will completely decimate either way their quality of life for all of the days that they have left. Patients should have the right and the full information to make decisions like that without feeling like they're facing shame from their care team. And I don't know anything about medicine. I didn't go to med school, but when I think about, from my perspective, the kind of doctor that I would like to have as I get older, and the kind of doctor I would want my parents and my loved ones to have, I think that I would want them to have a doctor who knows and who cares about stuff like this. Number 18, a book that is as satisfying as a perfectly grated block of cheese. No nubby end. And then also a second prompt. And this is almost certainly a victim of the character limit that exists when you put prompts like this out on Instagram, but after long week, Friday night, hottest everything shower ever, cold ass room, empty weekend, which I think is a sister feeling to No Nubby End. And when I think about the most satisfying experiences that I have had reading fiction, I always come back to the 5th season trilogy by N.K. Jemisin. And this is something that I always like to bring up whenever I talk about this series, so apologies if you've heard me say this before, but when I first read these maybe 4 or 5 years ago, I gave the first book 4.5 stars, and then the other 2 books were what got 5 stars, because they're just such stunning continuations for the series. And that's still true. I still loved the direction that this series takes, and I think that the ending is phenomenal. It's one of the most satisfying endings for a fantasy series that I can possibly imagine. But I also look back on the series, and it's the first book that I think about the most. It's the first book that, in retrospect, I find to be the most impressive in terms of its scope. And this is the one that I didn't give 5 stars, which just feels like a crime in retrospect. But yeah, the entire series, fantastic. It's so fucking good, man. Like, what you give to this series, you will get back tenfold. Number 19, avoidant lesbians with swords. I actually don't own my own copies of this series because when I read them, I was living with my best friend, and this is my best friend's favorite series of all time. So I just went over one door to her room and I took them from her and I read them. But it's obviously Gideon the Ninth that you're looking for. Name a pair of more avoidant lesbians in literature, I dare you. You can't, man. It's impossible. Last up in this section, finally, number 20, memoir that isn't actively trying to teach me something, / and this is like not the same prompts, but basically all of these books also apply. People who are nothings, in parentheses, trauma, oppression, becoming somethings, in parentheses, healing. And just like I gave you my sad canon, except this time with even less of an explanation because I'm giving you some bonuses, I do on occasion enjoy reading memoirs where there is more of an instructive focus, but I definitely have a soft spot for memoirs that are about people who do and go through really hard things. Like that is the reason behind why I pick up the majority of the memoirs that I end up reading. And my 3 favorite memoirs of all time are Educated by Tara Westover, Know My Name, and Crying in H Mart, which are all very different stories of women who go through really difficult things, but they're all essential, I think, in their own ways. But they're also all pretty popular. So if you've already exhausted all 3 of those books, I would also recommend that you read How to Say Babylon, Maybe You Should Talk to Someone, and Somebody's Daughter, if you're looking for some similarly emotionally complex stories of resilience, which again, that's like my favorite kind of memoir. So I've read a lot of them, and I think that these 6 are probably the best ones. Oh, also not on this list, but I also really enjoyed What My Bones Know, which is another memoir in the same font as like all of these other memoirs. So yeah, lots to read, man. Memoirs are great. Part 3, as a palate cleanser to enjoy after the part of this video where I actually know what I'm talking about, I just have a few prompts that for some reason or another were impossible for me to respond to. So here we go. Number 1, a book that when men see me reading it, they run the other way. Yeah, men can't read, so I don't think that I can help you with that. Obviously, the men in my audience can read, so this doesn't apply to you. You brilliant, brave 10% of total viewers. This is a joke, by the way. Legal disclaimer that this is a joke. Number 2, a book to restore my faith in humanity, in parentheses, I'm in grad school. Yeah, you're fucked. Take it from both the me who decided that grad school was the bad place and also all of my friends who went anyways. There's nothing I can do for you. Keep going. You got this. Number 3, a book that would make you cooler and more swag than your evil, pretentious ex. Yeah, this is just not needed. I too wanted to be cooler than my evil, pretentious ex once upon a time, but then my frontal lobe developed a little bit and I realized that not only he was really cringe, but also the real way to be cooler and happier than your evil ex is to just live your life never thinking about them ever again and to actually enjoy doing things, because enjoying things is probably not something that they do very often. Number 4, books to read when you feel disconnected from nature and want to reconnect. Yeah, I don't go outside kind of as a rule, especially during the summer, man. Like, you might think that that's a sad way to live if you enjoy the outdoors, but everything that I love in this world is inside. I am a tourist whenever I leave my apartment. I go places to look at pretty things for a little while and then take a few pictures, and then I go home afterwards to actually do the things that I like to do. So I'm not really the best person to help you with this one, but if I could, it's probably Braiding Sweetgrass, which I've never read before. It's on my long list of things in that bookshelf to get to, but one of my best friends absolutely adores that book, so maybe that could help. Number 5, for when I inevitably ruin my perfectly happy and abundant relationships via self-sabotage. Yeah, this is where a lesser and more predictable creator would just insert a picture of the DSM-5, but take it from a girl who understands. It is time to open a new tab on your laptop and type into the search field of Safari, psychologytoday.com. Trust me when I say that books will not save you here. Number 6, I want to feel like the rug has been swept out from under my feet. The plot twist is that good. / a betrayal that left you gasping. / I need a book that will actually send me into a coma from the plot twist being unpredictable. When people ask for recs like this, I don't get it, man. Like, if I tell you that there's a betrayal or a big twist, it will never be as good. It will never hit as hard as if you go into that same book not knowing that it has a betrayal or a big twist. If you, on God, actually want to feel this way, the answer is just you have to read a lot of books that are tagged as mysteries or thrillers or court intrigue or suspense, and eventually they're going to do what you want. Like, they're going to help get you there. But if I give a recommendation for a book that has a fantastic betrayal, it's just completely defanging that reveal, dude. Like, I understand that you want those emotions, but part of why they hit so hard is because you don't know if you're going to get them or not. Number 7, a book similar to the library at Mount Char. There is nothing on God's green earth that is similar to the library at Mount Char, dude. I'm so sorry. That book is the weirdest novel novel that I will ever recommend. It is like grimdark comedy, horror, fantasy surrealism with really bizarre, complicated twists. It will either be your favorite thing ever, or you'll think it's gratuitous and ridiculous, but there is nothing else like that book in this world, as is proven by the fact that the author just dropped his debut novel, because it was a debut novel, and then he just disappeared, never to be seen again. Like, that is the behavior of somebody who knows that their work is entirely singular. Number 8, for someone whose top Starburst flavor is orange and not pink. I just think that's really fucked up. Number 9, my bangs are greasy and it's ruining my life. Yeah, I don't think that a book can help you with that, but as someone who has had bangs for about 24 of my 25 years, I probably can. Unfortunately, the really expensive dry shampoo, the K18 like Sephora dry shampoo, it is that good. It is in fact goated. I'm so sorry that I have to be the one to tell you that, dude, because it's so much more expensive than other dry shampoo that you can just get at normal stores. But I will say I never use dry shampoo for like the rest of my scalp. So as somebody who only uses one or maybe 2 little spritzes on my bangs whenever I feel like they start to look disgusting, I have had the same mini bottle for over a year at this point. So it's actually not that expensive if we're going by like a per use thing, if you're not using it on your entire head, man. Like, I don't know how fast you would go through it if you were using it on your entire head, but I feel like then the expense would be a lot more annoying. Number 10, there's a bear in my house. What can I tame it with? Maybe try Bear Town. Number 11, something to read while eating grapes. And then immediately afterwards from the same person, something to eat while eating raisins. What am I supposed to do with this, man? I just thought this one was funny as like a 1-2 matched pair. What made you have these thoughts? I'm just so curious about how your brain works. Number 12. I want to feel how reading The Hunger Games made me feel at 12. Yeah, dude, take it from me. You're not gonna get there. It's not gonna happen. The only thing that you can really do is just reread the series again and hope that there's more books in the future. But it's still not going to be the same because you're not a child anymore. Like, there's nothing that approaches that peak, man. That's why there's so many pretenders who came up after The Hunger Games to try to trick you into believing that you could feel that way again. But if it's anything at all, for me, it was The Grace Year. That was my favorite YA dystopian that I've read for the first time as an adult, but very different vibe from The Hunger Games. Like, they're not very similar stories, but they do kind of evoke a similar feeling. And then lastly for this section, number 13, Verso from Expedition 33 and Mael from Expedition 33. This is a video game, and this is one of my like 3 favorite video games of all time, probably. Dude, I fucking wish I had anything to share with you. If anyone knows, you should let us both know. You should comment whatever book will evoke these feelings again. No Expedition 33 spoilers in my comments though, or I will use the button that I get in my settings to shadow ban you forever from my channel. Like, it is that serious to me. So don't you fucking dare spoil anything, but also please give me recommendations. Last section, this is the I haven't read this but section of the video. This is also going to be like the lightning round again, so it's going to be pretty fast paced because we're just pounding through. I have like 22 more. To be clear, all of these books are books that I have like a positive association with in my brain. These are all books that I think there's a very good chance that I will love, so hopefully you'll love them too, man. I don't know. I take no responsibility for if you read one of these books and you hate it, or if you read one of these books and you're like, that was not even a remotely accurate prompt to recommend this book for. However, I do take full responsibility for if you read one of these books and it ends up being your favorite book of the entire year. Sound good? Sound fair? Great. Number 1. Lesbians like that one toxic vampire story, Bury Your Bones in the Midnight Soil, but not ass. And then also a book about polygamist sister wives who fall in love with each other instead of their patriarch. Is this not A Dowry of Blood? Like, is A Dowry of Blood not exactly that premise, or at least very, very close to that premise? Number 2. Pretentious grad school / MFA program toxic romance, but make it literary. Everything about that is how I've been hearing people talk about Games, a love story this year. I'm pretty sure that the male main character in that book is not a grad student. I think that he's supposed to be much older than the girl is, but everything else, yes, it's toxic. I think it's in New York City. It's supposed to have pretentious grad school vibes. Like, this is what you want. Number 3. I yearn for plants and the horror of rot and being consumed by the earth and such, / some really weird botanical horror bullshit. This is one of my most anticipated in this entire section. I would for sure recommend to you The Works of Vermin. This is a fantasy book about a bunch of people who live in a city inside of a tree who have to go and hunt gigantic bugs. Like, it's exactly what you're after. Number 4, corruption arc for the girls. Bonus if there's a water vibe. This evokes chlorine to me. I feel like one could consider becoming an evil spooky mermaid, akin to a corruption arc. I feel like they're kind of the same thing. Number 5, imposing woman with emotional issues and a heart of gold on a journey. And then also sci-fi fantasy, but protagonist is a ripped older woman. This is the last contract of Isako for sure, right? One last job for your old vet before she finally hangs it up forever. You know that she's traumatized. You know she's been through a lot, and you know that she doesn't talk about her feelings. You don't even have to read the books to know these things. Number 6, horror novel that feels like A24 meets reality TV. This has to be Patricia Wants to Cuddle. I have like an encyclopedic knowledge of all books that have been released in the past 5 years that are in some capacity based on The Bachelor. I mean, I talked about a different one in this video. I just adore all of the weird forms of media that are birthed from the loins of this evil, evil show. And this is definitely one of the weirder ones. I'm pretty sure it's like Final Four of The Bachelor goes to an island with monsters on it and people start dying. And also I think they're all gay. Like I think that maybe they fall in love with each other, but don't take my word for that because if I'm false advertising, I'll feel really bad. Number 7, a book with a gothic vibe, but on a ship of some sort, like a cursed voyage or a ghost ship maybe. To you, I would recommend Voyage of the Damned, which is on my radar as another like mystery puzzle box fantasy, but it takes place all on a boat. So solving mysteries on a boat sounds like approximately what the doctor might have ordered for you. Number 8, a book that heavily features squids. And this is like truly just word association to me, like cover association. I would recommend to you The Mountain in the Sea, which has a gigantic pink cephalopod on the cover. I don't know if it's a squid because I don't know very much about marine animals, but it's either a squid or like an octopus or something. All of my friends from college read this book last year, except for me, apparently. Like I never got around to it, but they liked it. They said it was good. And it probably has squids, or if not squids, then some creature that is very similar to a squid. Number 9, books with an absurdist office setting. Hell, time travel agency, etc. This really brought Severance to mind for me. Not the TV show, even though I think that the TV show also is kind of like an absurdist office setting. It's not actually the same thing as the book form of Severance, but if you ever feel like you have the kind of boss who would force you to go to work even during an active apocalypse, I get the impression that this is a book that you might be able to connect to. Number 10, something queer or heists/spying/going undercover. Even better if it's specifically art theft. I don't know off the top of my head if this book includes queer characters or not, but it is a pretty large modern ensemble cast, but it's literally about an art heist, so I feel like it fits the rest of the prompt quite well. This is Portrait of a Thief. Number 11, I read a lot of isekai/fantasy slop stories. Got a rec for a palette change or one that you yourself will like? I have heard an amount of good things about this book that I'm actually like really scared I'm not going to like it as much as everyone else, but that is ballasted by the fact that a lot of my friends who have a very similar taste in fantasy to me also really like that book, whereas they don't always like some of the other stuff that goes viral. But I have heard so many good things about This Kingdom Will Not Kill Me, which to my knowledge is a portal fantasy. Like it's basically just an isekai. So if you haven't read that one yet, if you haven't heard of it, streets are saying that it's probably fantastic. Number 12, recently I've been really into books about elderly women reflecting on their lives. Any recs? This is like almost a useless rec to give this person because there's just no way that you submit that prompt without having heard of The Correspondent, which was easily one of the biggest general fiction releases of the past couple of years, but that's what I think about when I see this prompt. And if somehow you haven't heard of this and you want to read a book about elderly women who like write letters and reflect on those letters, that has got to be the one. Number 13, a book for a sapphic who marries Leah in Stardew Valley. For this, I prescribe you a book I am embarrassed to have not read yet. I'm actually also embarrassed I haven't read this author's other book, which I said earlier that I have an encyclopedic knowledge of every book that is at least loosely inspired by The Bachelor. This is a book that is loosely inspired by The Bachelor that I'm sure I will love that I haven't read yet, which let that say what it will about me, man, that I read fucking Blood of Hercules before I got around to reading either of Alison Cochran's books. But to you, I would prescribe Here We Go Again. Sapphic road trip romance that is much like Stardew Valley insofar as it is both a romance that has obviously a happy ending, like Stardew Valley is a cozy, happy game, but it also has, to my knowledge, a very strong emotional core and like a lot of depth for the characters. Number 14, Recovered Horse Girl. Now queer and woke. This is for sure just Emily Austin's entire catalog. I've read one of her books, but I've heard even better things about all of her others, and she tends to write about autistic lesbians who have like very specific neuroses and kind of fucked up ways at looking at the world. As a recovered horse girl who's probably been through a lot, I think that you'll probably see yourself in some of her characters. Number 15, eerie fantasy that elicits the feeling of a still lake covered in an early morning fog fog/mist. I would prescribe to you a book called Slewfoot, which has been on my radar for quite some time. I feel like Pilgrims and the Salem witch trials and just anything Puritan really evokes to me that image of a still lake in mist during early morning. I really am rage baiting myself by doing this section of the video because I have heard such good things about that book. I'm so embarrassed that I haven't read most of these already considering how long I have wanted to read them. But yeah, Slewfoot is supposed to be really, really fucking good, especially if you like horror. Number 16, you're a single mom swirling a glass of red wine in your Tuscan-themed kitchen. And this is a stretch, man. I don't actually know why this book so strongly is coded into this scene for me, but I would recommend to you The Safekeep, which is queer historical fiction about lesbians who are obsessed with each other and live inside of the same house in the 1960s. I just feel like the single mom in this case is very bi-coded, which is why I'm recommending you this book. Number 17, a book that would get bangs after a breakup. Great prompt. Fantastic prompt. I would recommend to you a book called Luster, which is your classic book about disaster woman living inside of a big city who has an affair with a married man. That is a book that gets bangs. You can't convince me it's not. Number 18, something that has the vibes of Mulan, but the character realizes that they're actually trans. I am maybe 90% sure that that is the exact premise for She Who Became the Sun. I'm not 100% sure, so this is me leaving just a little bit of room for error, but like, I'm pretty sure that that book is like exactly this prompt, so I'm pretty sure that you'll really like it. Number 19, a book that feels like those 2020 TikTok POV soulmate AUs, but actually well written. This really reminded me of Our Infinite Fates, which has not gotten like universally good reviews, but I have heard a lot of good things about. And the premise is literally a TikTok soulmate AU. It's like, what if you and your soulmate were reincarnated a million times, and in every life you have to kill the other person? I was watching those videos during the pandemic. We were both there. The only thing that's missing is like taking a piece of blue chalk and drawing a little dot on your forehead to show the mark that you got, that you woke up with when you turned 18, and it's like the mark that no one else has except for your soulmate who you're probably fated to kill. Number 20, a sapphic novel that will rekindle my faith in queer fiction after Bury Our Bones in the Midnight Soil. I'm doing another one of these because I have two other sci-fi fantasy sapphic releases that I'm really excited to read hopefully this year. Even though I've been burned 2 times in a row reading sapphic fantasy recently, whatever. I would prescribe to you These Burning Stars and also A Memory Called Empire, which are both books I have heard such good things about from like some of the people that I trust most to give me recommendations, and therefore by proxy you should also trust them. You probably should also think that they have good things to say. Number 21, for when you want to lay down on the forest floor and let moss grow all over your skin. To me this just reminded me of the author T. Kingfisher, and I don't really know why, because the one book that I've read by her takes place in a desert, so like what the fuck do I know, man? But from what I've heard of her other works, especially the Paladin's, I think duology, the Paladin's Grace duology, I feel like it's got a mossy vibe to it, like a forest feeling, you know what I'm saying? I'm just making shit up at this point, man. We're almost at the end of the video. Number 22, this was also one of my favorite prompts. A book that makes you want to turn into a bird and fly to know the world. I think that's just really wholesome, and this is a book that's been on my TBR for, unironically, I think 10 years, so goes to show, man, I don't do any of the things that I say I'm going to do, apparently. I would recommend to you Kitchen Confidential by Anthony Bourdain, which I know that for a lot of people is like the food travel memoir, so maybe it will be for you as well. Hopefully it will be for me whenever I get around to reading it, maybe sometime in the next 10 years, we'll see. But that's it, we've done it. 75 plus prompts, because I actually didn't even include in that number all of the entries in this list where I pulled multiple prompts for the same book, but whatever, man, not relevant, we've done it. I hope that at least one of the books that I talked about in this video is something that you will enjoy. And please tell me if it is, whether it's in the comments here or the comments of a new video that I post in like 6 months when you actually get around to reading it. One of my favorite types of comments to receive will always be the I read this book on your recommendation and I absolutely loved it. It like changed my whole life. It made me cry. It really impacted me. Like that is a big reason why I do a lot of the stuff that I do on this channel, even though I could just make videos about the books that I don't like. I do also occasionally enjoy recommending some things that are good as well. So yeah, thank you so much for watching. I hope that you guys are all doing well. And yeah, I don't have anything else to say. Bye!